My name is Blake Harlan. I farm out of Woodland, and we're diversified row crops: tomatoes, corn, wheat.
I'm Tyler Williams. We farm in Tracy, Stockton.
I'm Frank Silva. I'm with Silva Farms. I farm probably around 900 acres in the Delta near Isleton and Walnut Grove.
My name's Scott Rossi. I farm for Tanner Marinano here in Salinas Valley.
Wilcox equipment is well built. It is purpose built, and it's not difficult to work on.
I bought the eliminator in the hopes that I could kind of change our tillage a little bit and get away from using a disc and trying to gain the advantage of parking the discs, which I consider pretty high maintenance.
The cost of operation. I looked at what the cost of operation, anytime I look at a piece of tool is to lower our operating costs, because it's not like we get more money for our vegetables that we do grow, and unless we increase the yield and lower our operating costs, that's the big catalyst that drives.
It comes down to simple cost savings. The amount of money that you save in eliminating passes, eliminating labor cost, eliminating multiple tractors for maintenance and whatnot, you'll be able to pay, at least I was able to pay for your tractor and the eliminator within 2 years.
Yeah, you know, I started looking at, there was, I think it was Costa & Sons and Doug Iamoto had one, and I seen one down in Gonzales, and I watched it time and time again after I went down there. So I watch it, so I got a hold of Quinn and said I wanted to do a demo with Wilcox with the eliminator, and Alan came down with a little bit of his crew, and we rented a tractor from Par to pull it because you need the horsepower. We put it in a broccoli field, and my eyes lit up. Couldn't believe what it did. You know, we have very dark soil in some of the areas in Salinas, and it plowed right through it, didn't gum up, and the crop residue was gone, you know. One pass, it looked like shit, you could farm another crop.
One of the ways the eliminators help me in my farming operation and change things is I'm able to get across my ground in a more timely fashion, which in turn leaves me more moisture. That the finish on the ground is just as good as if it was done when I was doing it the 9 passes. And so in turn I'm able to get planting at a more accurate time for myself. And just overall it's been a win-win. In the beginning, I was always, like anything new, I was worried about maybe affecting my production. But since I've been doing this, my production has only increased. I've never actually had a year where it's gone down from what I used to do.
Timing is everything on the eliminator. The time to get onto the ground. If you open it up, you let it dry out a day or so, or even a half a day. So you could be working up 2 or 3 blocks at one time on the same ranch.
It was a totally different approach than chiseling and disking, and you basically had to start real slow at this and get everyone familiar with it on the farm, because it wasn't like a disc or a chisel. You got to hit it with the moisture's right. You see that benefit? If you hit it with the moisture's right, well, I guess with any equipment, you know, it's going to benefit when the moisture's right. But if you hit it with the eliminator extra right, the ground comes out good. We see, if I would disc 10 times, I'd run the eliminator maybe 5 times.
Another advantage of the eliminator I found too is the old days we used to plow or disc, and they all leave the ground with a compacted layer like. And it's been proven that any tool, whether it be eliminator or chisel or whatever, anything with chisel points, actually is able to fracture the soil and in turn let the natural moisture of the ground come back up. So if you have an issue where you're trying to plant to natural moisture, which we do sometimes if we're planting safflower or something like that, it really, again, hands down the best way to go. I remember doing a field once. A farmer next to me wanted to just make a pass with my eliminator, so we went up and down the field in the middle. Then he decided to go his conventional way with disking. And at the time, we'd forgotten we'd even done it. And when the safflower started to grow, was interesting. Safflower didn't grow anywhere, but only right where the eliminator went up and back. So I mean, I firsthand have seen the advantages of the eliminator as far as moisture. And so again, huge benefit versus the old style to using them.
The first things I noticed with the eliminator when we started pulling it through the field was that just using it at the right speed and set up right, the fracturing alone sped up the operation of our deep ripping behind it by about a mile and a quarter an hour. The eliminator by itself will almost always run through the field without plugging. The eliminator has improved the final outcome and the quality of beds that we pull up in combination with some other Wilcox equipment. The eliminator has helped us do a great job working ground. Wilcox makes tools that are strong, that hold up, and since I began using the eliminator, we have for the most part parked the discs. We are not using our discs nearly as much, and our maintenance on those items and repairing disc blades and changing them out has definitely gone down.
I looked at what it can do, and then when you hear the price, you kind of have a sticker shock. But then when you really think about it, what it saves, you see the payoff. In 18 months, we'll pay it off in 18 months.
Of keeping that tractor hooked to this piece of equipment day in, day out, it leaves the shop, it comes back with it at the shop, you know, it never leaves it. They're mothered together. That's huge on getting fields in and out, because you could jump from field to field to field rather than running a disc, then going and get a chisel, then coming back and going back and forth to each equipment. This thing goes in and out. And you know, if you hit it right and you know how the implement works, you definitely save on timing, and your 30-day turns, you know, you're able to do it in 20 if you had to, or sometimes 15 depending on what soil type you're in. Using a John Deere 9530T, which is 475 horsepower. And that was one thing Alan told me when we first started. Don't short the horsepower, you'll hurt it. Don't short the horsepower, you need it. And I listened to him, and everyone's like, God damn it, that's too big of a tractor for this. You know, and I was like, no, I'm gonna listen to Alan on this one. And you know, you looked around the valley and some guys were pulling it with smaller implements, smaller tractors, and you're like, can't be right, because your coulter blades, your I call them paddles, are not moving as fast what is really working that ground. And I had one, and not saying that I changed the valley, but you watch my equipment to their equipment run, and you can see where Alan's saving. You're saving a pass or two, putting the right horsepower connected to the equipment.
Cost savings and everything, and fuel, and time. Time was a big thing for us, being able to eliminate passes and being able to get back on the ground faster. It's enabled us to be able to plant sooner and be able to double crop in some situations where we weren't able to with conventional till.
How would I compare Wilcox to what competition? As far as I'm concerned, there isn't anything else. You pull silver or you go home.
We got cauliflower, broccoli, celery, lettuce, romaine, and some onions, some red onions. And I run about 1,700 acres. And hey, I purchased the eliminator in 2008, so it's been working ever since. Pretty good.
The old way I was doing things, I was probably doing 8 or 9 passes. Now today I'm able to get the same job or better with probably 3 to 4 passes.
The eliminator has been a tough tool, and as you can see from this one, it's had a lot of years of hard use. It's a well-used piece of machinery. Wilcox makes tools that are tough, and it's been through a lot of conditions. The investment has paid back.
Very pleased. As far as maintenance, maintenance on this, I believe, is less than what I was doing. I was using discs before, and discs are a lot more maintenance than my eliminator.
Since I've set up the eliminator with a fertilizer injection system, that's been a real nice added benefit to be able to have the fertilizer in the ground before planting and allow the plants to take up the fertilizer when they need it, instead of trying to struggle with getting side dress on or getting fertilizer on in time. Timing wise, it seems to work out well.
I had to figure out how the hell I was going to pay for it, you know? So went to the company and said, hey, I think there's savings here. And so we penciled it out, and now we got, I have one, and some of the other teenage farms have their own also. And ever since then, it's been a win-win situation with a Wilcox Eliminator.